Hey guys, welcome to the Homestead. As we're watching some of this disaster unfolding in the Carolinas, Tennessee region, and parts of Georgia, it points out some of the ways that we are lacking in just fantastic form. I watched a video just the other day about a guy who was using a mirror about yay big, and he was using it to try to signal aircraft. Some of the helicopters that were flying through the valleys, I believe the Tennessee or North Carolina region, he was basically trying to signal to them that he needed help. He was trying to get them to notice him in this deep valley that was hard to notice. And finally, a helicopter pilot saw him out in the small field in this valley and was able to land and get him some supplies and some other things that he needed. But he had no way to communicate. Now, back when I was in the military, we had deployment to Macedonia once, and we actually were involved in a Humvee accident that was in a pretty remote part of, obviously, the border there of Serbia and Macedonia. And the Humvee, I'll post a picture of it, actually rolled down a mountain. Luckily, I had gotten out of the Humvee before it did, but one of the drivers was, the driver was in it. We were trying to get it off this pathway, and the pathway started to give out. And finally, the Humvee rolled down the mountain. And most of the personnel were out of the Humvee already. But at that time when that happened, we had an NCO with us. He was E5 sergeant. And we couldn't get any sort of radio communications where we were. We were kind of in this valley, ravine, a holler. And immediately our NCO told one of us to head up that mountain, and because we were on the side of a mountain, because that's why it rolled down the mountain, and make communications, make contact with our Uniform 60 in the rear, where we could get help. They needed to understand that there were soldiers in trouble and we were in danger. We were actually on the border of Serbia, probably over the border or very close to it. And we needed help, and there was only 4 of us out there. And now we had a guy who rolled down the mountain who was severely injured and needed to be medevaced out. But we had no radio communications. In these places that we're watching in Appalachia, we're seeing a lot of mountainous regions, and the only way you're going to get communications is to get up on these mountains, but they don't even have the way to do that. All they're relying on was the power, the internet, and cell service. That's it. They had no way to reach out. And so as we look at this, we try to learn from this experience, it would be good to go ahead and take advantage of this technology that's been out for over 100 years now, a very simple, basic technology called radio. And I can go down a lot of conspiracies about why some of the things are happening today, like George Soros buying radio stations. But we're not going to get into that now. We'll do that over at Rumble. But over here at YouTube, I'm going to give you some recommendations. I have an entire playlist on my Patreon page of radios and how to get into these things and how I have my system set up. I have a number of mobile units that I use as a base station here inside my home if I need to reach out. I have one for GMRS, I have one for 2 meter, and I have one for CB. And I have made contacts out there in the radio world on every single one of these devices. And on this one, when the atmosphere is correct, on the CB radio, I can use the upper band and lower band on the CB radio, and I can hear people from almost all over the country, even other parts of the world, talking on it. I've listened to people down in the Caribbean, down in Mexico and Canada, on the West and East Coast with this radio. So I can hear a lot about what's going on. And my strategy when it comes to radio is to listen. I want to hear what's going on out there. If I don't have contact one day, if everything's turned off, I want to be able to know what's going on out there and then be able to make local contacts and keep informed with people in my area. If I ever needed help, I'm sure I could reach out on some of these because I know some of the repeater frequencies and I know some of the other frequencies that other people around me are using. I can be able to reach out and talk to them. Let's just go down first with this. I have some of the more expensive handheld radios. This is an ICOM. These don't have near the capability of some of the other cheaper Chinese radios that are out there today. Some of them are made in China. Some of them are made in Taiwan. Some of them are made in the Philippines. Either way, it doesn't matter. These things don't have near the capability as some of those other ones do. It's well made, but very expensive, but very little capability. These Baofangs that are out there, you can get these for as little as like $25 for the UV5R. UV5R. I think the last time I saw it was like $20, $25, something like that on Amazon. And yes, I have aftermarket antennas. I have a carry case, and some of them I even have aftermarket additional mics for them. But these things, and even extended batteries on this one. But like, if you spent all the money for the accessories for that Baofeng, and this one is the BFF8, it's got a little bit more wattage, it's still like half the price or a quarter of the price of one of these more expensive Yaesus or Icoms. So why would you buy these things? They're so affordable. They're so easily to use, and they have way more capability. On this, I can only use it for 2 meter. For this one, I can use this for 2 meter. I can use this for GMRS. I can use this for MERS. And Zach, I know you're not supposed to use those radios for all that stuff. You're only supposed to use it for what it's intended based on what the FCC tells you. I understand that the FCC overlords have made rules when it comes to radio communications, but I don't care in an emergency. I'm going to use it however I need it best that I see fit in that time of emergency. Guys, our government is $35 trillion in debt. At that point, they have foregone the ability to make rules for their population. When they're $35 trillion in debt, their ability to make rules is over. I don't care what their rules are anymore. Prepare yourselves. We're watching this happen and play out in real time over in these Carolinas, in Tennessee, in Georgia, and other places where these disasters happen. If you're not taking advantage of the cheap technology that would allow you to reach out and communicate with your neighbors and communicate with people who are trying to help you or who could help you, you're just not prepared. I have said it often on my channel. When you push preparedness to its logical conclusion, you will always end up on a homestead. Many of you are homesteaders because you are into preparedness. That's what got you into homesteading. That's what got me into homesteading, partly. I appreciate a lot of the things that homesteading gives us. The ability to homeschool easily. It gives us a more safer environment to raise our families in. It allows us to have gardens where we can grow healthier food, get animals where we can raise healthier animals and use that for food. But it's like there are certain, downsides to homesteading and not living within a tight-knit community. You can see that as a downside or an upside, by the way. But if you're in a place where you're more remote, you want to be able to have a way to reach out to other places who you might need help from, assistance from. Also, repeater books. They sell these books that have all the repeater frequencies that you might need. There's an entire 2 pages here on Tennessee. There's an entire 2 pages here listing of frequencies in Georgia and in North Carolina. Having a book like this that gives a lot of the frequencies that are most heavily used in different states would come in really handy right about now if you had a radio and if you had the ability to reach out to people in those affected areas. I've also had these cheap things from Walmart that you can buy. My kids beat them up. You can see, this actually still works. Or it did earlier. Did I take the battery out? Maybe. It did work earlier. Maybe it's finally given up the ghost. But I was actually communicating with this. I was actually listening to traffic all the way down to Little Rock on this just a couple weeks ago. There's a GMRS repeater down there, and you can hear it sometimes on a clear night, all the way up here in Northwest Arkansas. But these things, they get beat up a lot, and they're really expensive. They sell them at Walmart, these GMRS radios. You can get something like these Baofengs, and they're way cheaper, and the kids don't beat them up as much, and they can take a beating, I think, a lot better than these Walmart ones that are way more expensive. Anyway, there's lots of options out there. If you want to learn more about this stuff and how I have my communication set up on my homestead, you can find the playlist over at patreon.com/AmericanHomestead. Link is down below, and watch that playlist. Also have a whole bunch of other stuff out there that I give away to my patrons. You just go to the collections tab up at that website. Collections, once you get in, the collections, and it'll show you all the stuff that I'm giving, plus a whole bunch more. So you can see how I have it all set up. My 2 meter, my GMRS, and my CB radio, and how I use them and how I have them set up. All right, guys. If you found that video informative and helpful, please leave a link below. I would give an affiliate link out there for some of these, but I don't care about kickbacks or any of that stuff. Go out, do your research, get some training, learn how to use them, get a frequency book so you know how to reach out. Learn how these operate and get one, at least one, if not a couple. I have a few even that I can give out to neighbors if I have to, if something really went down, if things really went sideways, because I want to be able to have my neighbors be able to communicate. And a lot of my neighbors already have these. A lot of my neighbors already, in fact, there's a guy down the road, he's already got his own antenna set up on his house. So it's like we can communicate. If things go sideways, people here will be able to talk to each other. And I would encourage you to even build that sort of community in your community. All right. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. How prepared are you? Are you going to be out there in a field with a mirror trying to signal aircraft when it all goes south? Let me know in the comments below if you're ready for this. If you're not, be honest. Let me know you're not. And take the steps necessary right now to get ready for it. All right, guys. Love you. See you next time in the Homestead. Bye.
In the spring of 2024, Saudi Arabia ended the long-held practice of requiring its oil to be sold in U.S. currency. And recently, governments around the world have been repatriating their physical gold from Western banks, opting instead to hold that gold within their own borders. China, meanwhile, continues to set records in terms of stockpiling its physical gold reserves, while at the same time dumping billions in U.S. treasuries. All these instances can otherwise be called indicators. Indications that the world is readying itself to participate in trade that does not involve the United States or the dollar. And at home, our banks are showing signs of a deflationary collapse, in which case the FDIC does not have a fraction of the funds on hand to ensure you can get your money should your bank fail. On the other hand, they keep telling us inflation is getting under control, but for some reason, the prices we pay day to day keep going up and products we pay for keep getting smaller. I've put a link in the description below this video that will allow you to start the process to convert money you may have already saved into precious metals that you yourself can hold. You hold it, you own it. Throughout history, precious metals have always been accepted for goods and services, even in the most chaotic of economies and war-torn countries, dating all the way back to when Alexander the Great ruled the known world. Guys, we're over $35 trillion in debt. If you're concerned, I don't blame you. ITM Trading has a well-documented history of helping people put their money into physical metals that you hold. Again, if you hold it, you own it. Hit that link below and see how ITM Trading can help you get the ball rolling towards financial sustainability. The consultation is free and there's no pressure. They will show you your options based on your concerns and goals you have for the future. By doing this, you're safeguarding wealth just like people have done successfully for literally thousands of years. You are now part of that history. Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.